This is the 3 a.m. podcast where we like tell scary stories around our campfire. You can check us out on Instagram, YouTube, the podcast app, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Like us, subscribe, download, give us an awesome review because we deserve it.
Okay. We think we do. I don't know.
I just got really hot.
You do you.
Okay.
You do you, but also do us.
Keep going. No.
My name is Sean.
My name's Charlie.
My name is DJ.
And you're listening to 3 a.m.
Just a bunch of friends
Doing friend stuff.
doing friendly things. We tell first and second hand scary stories.
Yo, how you two doing?
Not too bad.
Good.
I haven't seen you guys in forever.
Yeah, dude. Feels like it's been so long since we recorded last.
I know, this is wild.
For everyone out there, we're trying to record 4 episodes in one day. So,
This is a marathon.
We're keeping y'all fed during the holiday seasons.
yeah. So,
I got an update. To all of you who felt my pain at my onion grass story, I have an update of my family situation.
So real quick, if you don't know the onion grass story, Sean at one point in his life was not the wealthiest. And in fact, they were pretty impoverished.
We were the poorest.
So they had to mow a lawn in order to live in a home. And part of their meals was picking onion bulbs from that lawn.
And
Hence,
boiling it.
onion grass soup.
Yep. We did use salt though, so that brought out the flavor. So we're not doing that bad anymore. My dad's actually about ready to retire next year, and he
at
plans
the age of 55?
at the age of 55.
Congrats.
And he's going to buy a Papa Murphy's
What?
and run a pizza restaurant, which is crazy because like we had never had pizza growing up.
Oh my God. Full circle. Just tell them don't serve them a charcoal
I
block.
I do remember having pizza a couple times in Washington, like I mentioned, and it was always Papa Murphy's.
Dude.
So
All right, well, there's our first official sponsor. You heard it here.
Papa Murphy's, you heard it.
That's hilarious.
Yep. So he's planning on doing that in April, I think.
Sean's going to follow in his footsteps and open up a onion grass soup shop. Damn,
Right
that was
next
hard to
door.
say.
It's going to be like a cart actually outside.
Damn me, cut that. Cool.
Good for them. Good for you guys.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for him. He said I was the only one who didn't laugh at him when he told all of us.
Bunch of savages.
And I was like, so does that mean I
Wow.
get pizza for free? And he's
Yeah.
like, okay.
I got a lifetime discount.
From burning pizzas to slanging them.
Hey,
you go.
slinging.
That's the gas away way. Over the weekend, I was hanging out with my aunt, and we were chatting, and I asked her if, they had experienced anything scary, and they said, no, not really. And they said, wait a minute.
What?
Yeah, we did. So it's not like a long story, but my aunt and my cousin live alone, and they're 2 females, and, the issue of like security comes up. Sometimes they get really afraid, right? And they live kind of close to a mountain, not really densely populated place. So one night they're hanging out and they're upstairs. I think they're watching a movie, and all of a sudden the power goes out.
Oh, nope.
Hey, that's kind of weird. Like, so the power went out. So they decide, I don't know why, but they decide to go look out the window at the neighbors, and they realize none of the neighbors' power is out. It's just their house. So they're terrified. And they decide to not check. They lock themselves in their bedroom and don't come out the entire night.
That's one way to deal with it.
But the next morning, they came outside, they went around their house, and the power had been shut off manually. So they have no idea what that was. I think like a year or 2 later, they were hanging out in their house, and it's near night, and they have a back porch, and they're just in their living room. I think my aunt was typing at the computer, and my cousin was reading a book, and all of a sudden they hear their porch creak, and they hear footsteps walking across the porch. And they look, and there's like a pretty opaque paper blind in front of the window. and they see just a shadow slowly moving across it. And like I said, they're pretty like nervous and afraid because there's, they're two females alone. So they're petrified and they keep telling each other like, you look, no, you go look, you look. And they're like having this almost silent argument until finally my cousin loses the argument and has to go upstairs and look down and try to see if there's someone standing on their porch. And so she goes upstairs, creeps up to the window, her heart's pounding in her throat, and she looks down, and this huge deer was just standing at their back door.
Was it on 2 feet?
That's what I was gonna say.
And it stood up
And said, I
Shut
am
off
the
the
one
power.
of this land.
Yeah. No, it was just Bambi looking deer and galloped away and
Start a forest fire and just wreck it.
oh gosh. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought that was kind of funny, but nonetheless, pretty
That's still
creepy.
pretty
They still
creepy.
don't know who or what shut off the power.
I was thinking about that. Like, that's probably a good idea that they just stayed in their room. Because my thought would have been, yeah, I'm going to go try and turn it back on. But what if they were waiting out there for you?
and it's just trying to lure you out there, bro.
Especially if you're the only one that went out. But also sometimes, like, the power will trip on its own if you're using too many things in the house.
I don't think that's the case because they're like,
It's probably not the case.
I think they never watch TV. They like read. They're like smart people, so they read books and write in their journals and things.
I have a homie who was babysitting for his brother. So it's his niece, and she's super young, and his brother and his wife just want to go out on a date and have a night out. So he babysat her. It wasn't the first time, and he's close with them. And she had a strict bedtime of 8 p.m. So after toiling, struggling to put his niece to bed, and she goes to bed, he decides, this is like early 2010s, early 10s. Skyfall is the big, like the movie Skyfall is the big talk.
Oh, yeah.
He hadn't seen it yet, and it just came out on, I don't know what.
Blu-ray.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say Blockbuster.
VHS. I don't know.
8-track.
Yeah.
He watches it, and it's about 10, so it's been dark for a few hours, and his brother and his wife are still out, and it's getting to the super intense part of the movie, and he's all alone in the living room. And it's super suspenseful, loud explosions, and then it gets quiet, And while it's quiet, a whisper in his ear. Did you know James Bond killed Jesus? It's his niece. And he never offered to babysit again.
And he right hooked her in the face.
Yeah. He John Cena'd her from the top couch.
Oh, you're Jesus and I'm James Bond then.
We were hanging out with one of our other friends, Kevin. So not the Kevin you all know. It's Jordan's cousin, Kevin.
Yeah.
We were hanging out with his brother in Colorado. And he's a little older than us. He has things that we don't have, like a
house,
family, a house, a career.
He's cool though. Shout out Mark.
Yeah.
He's only like 3 years older than us.
But he was just dropping wisdom on us about, what it's like to be a grown-up and things, and just the magic of being a father and what that's like. And then he's like, well, there are some times where I'll go to bed and, he has 2 young daughters. So he has to bathe them, feed them, get them dressed, read them stories, dance, whatever, anything he can to get them to bed. So it's this whole ordeal. And then he finally gets them to go to sleep, and he's just exhausted from his hard job. And he goes and lays in his bed and he falls asleep. And he says, every once in a while, he'll just get a feeling, and he'll open his eyes, and like an inch in front of his face, his daughter will be standing there breathing with her hair in front of her face. And she'll just be like, and he's like, I have to fight every primal urge not to hit her in the face. But I always scream and oh gosh, what are you doing? So I was like, maybe I don't want kids. I don't know.
Oh, too funny. There's some good updates. Anything
True.
else?
Should we do one rowdy story?
A rowdy story?
I want to start introducing stories about my friend, because some of the topics in this might not be the most legal. I have to give him a
alias.
And so I'll just go with Mitch. Why are you guys laughing?
Don't know, dude.
I was just trying to think of a random name.
Crazy alias, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, so I want to start introducing stories of Mitch because I grew up with this kid. And whenever we'd go camping, half of our time at this campfire would be scary stories. And the other half would be stories of crazy stuff Mitch did growing up. That's the name I said, right? Was Mitch for him? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I want to start introducing some of those stories, but maybe in the future.
Okay. I see you.
One way of describing Mitch is one of his favorite games was he's like 10, his sister's 8. He would have his sister tie him up with ropes and push him into the deep end of the pool. And the game was to see if he could get out without dying.
Dude, that's living on the edge right there.
So that's just like a little snippet into what Mitch was like.
Reminds me of a good friend of ours, me, Sean, and Jordan. I think we've told you about him before. His name is Carston.
Damn, that's a unique name.
He's the saddle maker from Idaho.
He makes these beautiful ornate saddles, works on one saddle for a month, sell it to some rancher in Germany for like $20K.
I'm quitting the podcast and I'm making saddles.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's a super, like he's our age, but such like a mountain man. And we went and visited him once because he was like, come up to Idaho and I'll take you guys like hiking and camping and all these things. And then we went to Jackson Hole as well in Wyoming, went rafting and stuff. Super fun. But he's the first stop of our trip. And there's like 6 of us who drive up, and he texts us the address to his house. At the time, he wasn't married yet and was living at home with his parents, who they have like a farm. And we get there, and we hadn't seen him for like at least a year, so we're all excited. And he's like, all right, you guys want to do something fun?
And you're terrified and intrigued.
Before we could answer, he does a complete 180 and sprints out the door. And we follow him and watch him as he hurtles over the wooden fence and run towards this fully grown steer with horns and jumps at it, grabs it by its horns, and shoves it to the ground and starts wrestling this bull. And we're just standing there and watching him, and it's one of the most incredible things we've ever seen. There was one time where we were hiking in Zion's in a beautiful hike in this huge slot canyon called the Narrows. You guys should look it up. But
I'll put up videos on YouTube of it.
We were walking through the water, and it's about knee high. And 1 second he's with us, and we're all just hiking, laughing, talking, whatever, enjoying the scenery. And not even 2 minutes go by when we realize that he disappeared. We're like, where the hell is Carston? And we're looking around, and about like 80 feet up the cliff, we see him like just sitting in a cave. In those few minutes that we were just talking and hiking, he had slipped away so stealthily and climbed up the cliff. And just wanted a good view, as he put it.
Dude, I think your friend is a skinwalker.
Well, he would tell us, and just knowing this person and the type of person he is, I like believe everything he says. And seeing some of the crazy things he's done. But he said him and his dad and his brothers would go wolf hunting up in Idaho while they were growing up.
Terrifying.
What they would do is they would go hunt rabbits first, kill all of them, and then they would just lay on the forest floor.
I was going to say, your imaginary friends.
Yeah.
But it's from the last app.
Put the rabbit on his chest and just lay on the forest floor, wait for a wolf to come with a pistol in his hand. Just bare chested. And that's the story of Carston. Kind of scary.
So it fits.
So it fits this episode.
Well, then I gotta say one of Mitch, because Mitch also had like a call of the wild, like him and wildlife.
Raised by wolves.
Essentially, this kid is wild.
Dances with them.
This kid was crazy. We went to scout camp once, and we're like 12. He walks out to waist deep in the water and stands there for hours. And we're like, Mitch, what are you doing? He's like, I'm fishing. And we all go have fun, just weave some baskets, just do the normal scout stuff. Come back, it's like night. We've had dinner. He's still out there. And then we're like at the campfire at night. He walks back into camp with the fish he caught with his bare hands.
Oh my God.
We're like, what? Anyway. Yeah, so more to come. A lot more illegal stuff too. I'll have to figure out how to tell it. But there's Carston and Mitch. They should meet up and hang out.
A battle for the ages.
Ooh. Okay, they can duel.
Dope.
Hit the button, bro.
Question time. You're a thief,
Yep.
but you only steal things to mildly inconvenience people's lives. What do you steal?
I'm taking all of the toilet paper out of all of our bathrooms.
That is a major inconvenience.
That's a terrorist act, okay?
That is a class 1 felony
The FBI is coming for you.
in the state of every state.
Taking all of the batteries out of the remotes.
You could go into a person's house, and if they're a puzzle person, take one piece out of each of the puzzles.
That's dirty.
Dude, that could end lives.
Yeah.
Some rage quit.
Facts.
Or IRL rage quit.
That's a doo-doo question, huh?
It's fun. I have a question to bounce off. Or another one. Okay, let's say I was going to give you $1 billion,
Okay.
but you have to hide.
Hide.
You have 24 hours to secure your hiding place, and everyone in the entire world is looking for you.
So
Okay.
John Wick.
And you have
Ooh.
and you have to last 1 week. Well, I guess
1 week?
1 week.
week.
You have to last 1 week.
Do you have a little head
24
start?
hours?
You have 24 hours to secure your hiding place,
Ooh, this is like that game Hunted. Did you
but
ever
with
see-
the entire world.
True. Facts.
Is there any place like what are your thoughts? Kevin, feel free to chime in.
We have Kevin here with us today.
Would you go wilderness?
I feel like you would have to. Because if everyone's looking for you, you can't go somewhere public.
Antarctica.
Yeah, but you only have 24 hours.
I don't care. I'll last there longer than everybody else.
But
you
you,
have to-
only have 24 hours to get there.
Yeah, F you guys.
Somebody's not getting $1 billion.
I think the main issue is food and water. You have to find a place where you can stay,
For
but
a
also
week.
get food and water for a week.
See, but
That's
like
not a
water's...
ton.
Yeah, that's not a bad... All
A
you'd
week?
need is like, a backpack full of food you'd last a week.
You
and
might-
then like water
if you-
purifying tablets.
Just
or
ration
something.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, can you not be seen by anybody, or just everybody's trying to take it from you?
Well, if everybody's trying to take it, then you can't be
If they
seen.
find you, you lose it.
Like if they see you,
Let's say if they see you.
oh, that's
I
hard.
was gonna say, because I have friends that I trust to have my back and protect me. And
Everyone in the world's trying to get it.
Everyone's against you. You have no friends.
no, I do.
Okay.
Okay.
My friends that much. You guys included.
If someone sees you, so you have to go off the beaten path. Really, all you need is a backpack with some food and water.
I think our best bet is Canada, the middle of Canada.
Well, yeah.
I asked my cousin and he said, Winnemucca, Nevada.
Ew.
I mean, Canada is not bad. I'm also thinking like out in the middle of the desert.
Oh,
Like it would suck, but no one would go there.
El Paso, Texas.
Because like
Honestly.
Breaking Bad.
Honestly, I'm trying to think of someplace heavily populated. Like
So
the
you-
last place they can think of.
like be in the sewer or something?
the sewer or dude, I would go in go in a sewer.
Hell yeah.
I would get
$1 billion.
Yeah, I would get in a wetsuit
Oh, yeah.
and
Just snorkel and stay right under the poop layer.
yeah.
But what if they send someone to check the sewers and they just put a rake in the water until they find you. Because everyone in the world.
I'd go in the sewer of like the subway, just like deep.
So,
Okay.
Catacombs of Paris.
You'll probably never come out.
Or maybe even like the rooftop of a building somehow.
What if they're flying helicopters? I know what you're saying, though. Like maybe doing something that unconventional.
yeah. I'm going wilderness.
Okay. Sean's going wilderness. You're going urban, of course.
Or into like a big container park.
Yeah. If everyone was actively looking, though, that's where like we get into a whole nother conversation, because then they're going to start checking stuff like that. If they're not actively looking, the rule is that they just can't see you. Yeah.
Let's say let's say if they get it, they get the billion.
So everyone, it is John Wick, dude.
If you guys have any good ideas on where you would hide for $1 billion, you can tell us, and we promise we won't
Okay.
tell anyone.
FBI.
Okay. But not like close to US, Canada, like out in the middle of nowhere, Canada.
Yeah, like the middle.
Yeah.
What if you found an abandoned house? You locked all the doors. It's going to get searched at one point, but probably only once or twice. So as long as you stay close to like an attic, go up there and cover yourself with like insulation or something.
True.
Or the floorboards go underneath.
Pull an Anne Frank. Take that out.
You know she died. So that doesn't work.
She's the real winner.
Only a week, though. Like, I feel like you could find some solid places for a week.
Roll.
4, 9, 12.
12.
Sean, Charles, and me. Effectively the exact opposite of last episode. Oh. Wowie. Go, Sean.
All right. I got some good stories today. The first one coming out of Arkansas, otherwise known as Arkansas.
The slums.
The slums. So this was submitted by someone, and it's actually the experience of their father. And this happened back in 1979. His father was, I think, 16 years old at the time and was going camping with the Boy Scout group that he was in. And he said there was about 9, 13 to 17-year-old kids that went camping. They go out into this kind of backwoods nowhere in Arkansas.
So anywhere in Arkansas?
Basically anywhere in Arkansas.
Did you ever live in Arkansas?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I actually have family that did.
What's Arkansas like? Like if you were to walk outside and look around?
Arkansas is like, those forests are all similar, like Georgia, Mississippi. It's like heavily forested.
Okay.
And also like kind of swampy in a lot of areas. And
Like bayou?
not quite bayou. Like more swampy, like bogs and
Like
stuff
marsh
like that.
and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it was completely flat, so
No.
I'm glad you clarified.
Yeah. Like even on the northern part of Arkansas, you get like the Ozarks and close to that.
Cool.
So they go out in the middle of nowhere. They set up camp. They kind of go fishing, play around, stuff like that. And they've had a good day. They're like setting up this fire to kind of eat and roast some marshmallows before going to bed. And the fire's starting to die down. They've already kind of had their fun. They're just waiting for it to go out before going to bed. And as it's starting to go down, it's kind of harder now to see everyone's face that's sitting around the campfire. And this guy's dad, as he's sitting there, he knows most everyone in the troop, but he's also pretty new. So he starts counting, trying to like see who it is like actually sitting around the campfire, like recognize his friends. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And he stops. And he does it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now he starts to panic. He's like, I know there was only 9 of us. And I only recognize a few people. And he starts to kind of silently think this to himself, like, count the people. And he's like, how do I tell everyone without like freaking everyone out? And as he's starting to panic, eventually he just shouts out, count the people. And his friends kind of look at him. And then they start doing the same thing.
Oh.
And once they all realize that there's one extra person there, they all jump up and run.
That's worse.
They're all 13 to 17.
Link arms.
So as they jump up, run, at least this guy's dad was gone for about 15 minutes before he came back to the fire. And everyone made it back to the fire. And there was 9 people again. And nobody knew who that extra person was.
I do not like that.
First thing I think of, is that it?
That's the end of the story.
The first thing I think of is the goat man.
The goat man is what he thought it was.
So if you don't know, the Goat Man is a pretty famous, scary story that's floated around the internet. I came across it like 3 years ago. I decided to read it in the middle of the night alone in a pitch black room. And it straight up left me petrified.
God.
Like I couldn't move. And I was like, why have I done this to myself?
Why have you done this thing?
Seriously though.
Father.
After reading his story, I went back and read the Goat Man story again.
The Ananasi Goat Man story.
Yeah. And then also like looked up some info on the Goat Man. He's apparently a famous mimic. And we'll just
Generally in the South, right?
generally in the South, predominantly like Arkansas. Whoa. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, this is creepy.
I don't know how much we can't share word for word the Goatman story, but if you're interested, go look it up. It's like the Anasi, Anasisis.
I saved it. It's the Anansi, Anansis.
Bruh, spot on.
Is that the dude that plays Tom Haverford in Parks and Rec?
And Aziz Anasazi.
Anyway, the goat man, yeah, he's like a notorious like mimic.
Mm-hmm. And notorious for like showing up in groups and just hanging out.
I remember a few years ago, the first time I went to Jackson Hole, or no, the second time I went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, was with these dudes and a couple of other friends. There was like, I don't know, 6 to 8 of us. But everyone was going to sleep in their tents. Sean and I were the last ones up. We were in a tent with like 4 people. And Sean and I were in the middle.
And we had just told the Goat Man story around the fire.
And Sean and I couldn't go to sleep. And it was pretty cold. We're bundled up in our sleeping bags like cocoons. And him and I were just having pillow talk.
I love you.
Yeah, I do, dude.
I love your eyes.
And we just freaked ourselves out. Nothing crazy happened, but I like psyched myself out so bad. I like imagine like somebody like coming up behind Sean, because him and I were like laying facing each other on our sides, which was real cute. I imagine somebody peeking over him, and it was also Sean.
Oh, dude! And then Jordan left the tent to go sleep in the car, and we were looking at each other, and we're like,
what if we turned around and Jordan was still there, as if like that was either the Goat Man or the Goat Man was one who left as
dude, we started
mimic
getting
Jordan.
real spooked.
Yeah, we were psyching ourselves out until we both knocked out.
Yeah, fun times.
That's a fun story.
Dude, yeah, it was pretty creepy too.
Oh,
I said he had a second one.
I do. Have you guys ever heard of the Fouke monster?
Spell it.
no.
Fouke.
Folk.
No, sir.
also known as the Boggy Creek Monster. They made a movie about it called The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Starring Charlie Sheen.
No.
Starring Scooby-Doo and the rest of the gang.
Would have gotten away with it too.
What's it called? The Boggy
Creek Monster.
Is that
the
Danny
movie was
DeVito?
No, that was a penguin.
Okay.
So also in Arkansas,
Oh,
and it is
Nothing. Never mind.
nothing good comes out of Arkansas.
I was just gonna beg on Arkansas. I was like, "There's nothing about
Goat
Arkansas
Man.
that makes me want to go there."
Boggy Creek, the Clintons.
I'm spoiled and sit on my high horse of being from Hawaii.
Don't suicide me, please.
don't suicide you.
Making enemies in high places,
Bro, you're
guys.
going to get us all suicided.
Anyway,
So the Boggy Creek Monster is allegedly a Bigfoot that lives in Boggy Creek, Arkansas, and has been seen 30 to 40 times by people in and around the area, people who aren't from the area, just passing through, people who live there. So like a large variety of people. And like, for example, one of the earliest sightings back in 1969 was this couple who was driving through, and the wife in the passenger seat thought she saw a man in a fur jacket just walking along the side of the road. And she points him out to her husband, and they kind of like turn a little bit to shine the lights at the guy and notices a big hairy monster. Stuff like that. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is I just had family in town recently, and I remember this story when I was growing up, but I was reminded that my grandpa has a story about the Boggy Creek Monster. Now, if any of my family is listening and you have more details on this story, or if I'm getting it wrong, please reach out to me because I don't know. This is based solely on my memory. So, Arkansas back in the day, like really there was no fear of leaving your door unlocked. So, and on top of that, they would basically just be a screen door. So it was like one of those country houses with a wraparound porch and a screen door. They had a family get together, and all of the family was there. And they were all just visiting, and nighttime comes, and they're just finding any place they can to sleep. There was people all sleeping in the living room, upstairs bedroom, stuff like that. And the way that the story goes is he wakes up to a sound, and the sound is the creaking of the screen door. And like at first, it's not a huge concern because they don't really leave it unlocked. The wind could have caught it, stuff like that.
they don't leave it unlocked or they don't leave it locked.
Sorry, they don't leave it locked. And it's just a screen door in the first place. You could get in if you wanted.
Gotcha.
So they don't leave it locked. Now, after that initial sound, he hears another sound, but this time it sounds like someone's walking around in the house. So he gets up, and and it's like one of those houses where they have the entranceway, living room, and they're like the stairs go up. You can kind of go around back to the entranceway. So he kind of goes around this back way to where there's the kitchen dining room area. And he kind of pokes his head around the corner and looks and sees a figure standing there in the dining room. So he doesn't recognize them. It is dark, but he feels like everyone is sleeping. So he kind of creeps around the corner, sneaks up, and at the last second, jumps on it. He jumps on it and kind of struggles a little bit, and then eventually it throws him off and runs out the door and out into the forest. And so he starts waking everyone up. He wakes everyone up, we turn the lights on, and he realizes that he got a palm full of fur from whatever it was that he had just jumped on. Now, there are two possible things that this could have been. I remember him saying it could have been a gorilla escaped from a zoo
Okay.
or the Boggy Creek Monster. Either of those are terrifying.
Yep.
Or just like a super hairy dude.
It could have been a super hairy dude. It is Arkansas.
You tackled
Danny
an
DeVito.
an Armenian.
In Armenia.
Okay, take that out.
But
Yikes.
to this day, it's one of those two. And, well,
Dude,
yeah.
your
either
grandpa
way.
has some balls, bro. his initial thing is like, you know what? I'm going to jump on this thing.
I'm going to attack it or tackle it. I think he was trying to tackle it to the ground, and whatever it was too strong.
Wow.
Can you imagine, though, jumping on a gorilla? No.
No.
I can't
Well,
imagine
with
that.
balls that big, it should have been brought to the ground.
So did he keep the fur and we're going to send it into the lab? Is that what you're telling us?
I don't recall, actually. And if it is, then it's probably hidden somewhere in a hoarder's home. He's actually no longer with us, so
R.I.P.
probably sold it at auction.
Yikes, dude.
Wow.
Fun. Who's next?
You are.
Okay, cool. All right, so this happened to this person when they were 12 years old. And growing up, they had experienced night terrors quite often. So it wasn't often that they got like a full night's sleep. One night, she wakes up and she has to go to the bathroom super bad. Bladder super full. So she super groggily goes over and opens the sliding door to her bathroom. And how the bathroom works is there's like a door here. It's like I think a Jack and Jill bathroom. Is that what it's called? Kevin, do you know that term?
There's a door on each end.
So yeah, it's a Jack and Jill bathroom. There's a door on each end. She can access it and her sister, right?
Okay.
So she goes in with nothing on her mind, doesn't even turn on the light, just sits down and starts peeing. And as she's sitting there, she notices a small movement out of the corner of her eye. She turns her head to look at the other door, and there is a man standing at the other door, staring at her, saying nothing. He's wearing a super tatted gray jumpsuit. He's balding, which I don't know why they put that in, but they did. And he has a crutch,
What?
and he's just standing there. She says, I don't know how, but I found myself in the basement where her parents sleep. So she basically like blacked out, ran downstairs. She doesn't remember that part at all. She just remembers being at the foot of her parents' bed in the basement, hysterical. And she's trying to explain to her dad what's going on. He's trying to calm her down. And he goes, like, calm, it's okay. He tries to soothe her. He goes upstairs and he searches. Comes back, says, there's nothing, honey, but you can sleep on the couch in our room. Makes her a bed up on the couch in their room. And she's laying there, but she doesn't go to sleep.
Of course not.
About 2 hours later, she's lying there and she hears the bathroom door upstairs slowly slide open. And she said she heard limping footsteps leave the bathroom. Next morning, they searched the entire house again. The fridge and the pantry had been raided, and a couple things were gone.
Holy cow.
They said they never found out who it was or what it was, but it freaked her out for a very long time.
Well, at least she knows she'd be able to run away from him with his hobbled ass.
Growing up, there was the chapel we would go to church at, me and my family. Sometimes all like the youth would play like hide and go seek. And it was a big chapel, like it had a gym inside, multiple classrooms.
Low key, when churches are dark and not being used, they're scary, bro. Just tons of room, long, dark
Long hallways, high ceilings. Yeah. You feel vulnerable as a kid in big spaces like that.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the best places to hide, but not everybody hid there because it was the scariest. That's why it's one of the best places to hide. And it was in the gym, there was like a stage.
Uh-huh.
And there's these big velour drapes, and it's pretty dark behind that if the light isn't on. and there's a ladder that goes up to not really
Like
a second
mystery
floor.
room?
Actually, behind the curtain on both sides of the stage, there was a ladder on both sides, and one of them led to like the air conditioning room and the vents that ran throughout the church, and people would hide in that room. And one time, one of the kids crawled inside the vent and found food in there, like a half-eaten apple, some clothes, and freaked out, ran out of there screaming, and we never found anyone. But a few weeks later, somebody was closing up the church, locking everything up, and heard a noise coming from the stage. So they walk there, open the curtains, it's dark, turn on the
some
lights,
cheap lights.
and they climb up the ladder because they can hear noises. And they open the door, and when they open the door, the noises stop. But they go back, they keep going in, and they look inside the vent. You can see the shine of two eyes staring at him. Turns out it was a homeless man living in there.
Oh my gosh.
Kicked him out.
The
Somehow.
Christian thing to do.
Yeah, we hate those poor people.
Those hobos.
The poor and lowly.
Dude, my mom used to teach early morning seminary for like 15 years.
Wait, were you done?
Yeah.
Okay,
That was pretty much it.
sorry.
And she would take us the whole time. So even as a little
Seminary
kid,
for Mormons is basically like
just a class you take.
church school for teenagers that we would take like an hour every day.
It's like
Yeah.
Bible study before school.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She took us for like 15 years. So
Your mom was the one of the teachers.
because she didn't want to be alone there. I remember playing like we'd bring her like thing of Legos and just dump them out in the foyer and play Legos in the foyer for a while. But I remember like walking around in these dark hallways and being unreasonably afraid of coming into one of these hallways and seeing all the way at the opposite end the Pokemon Hypno with his little thing.
Super rational fear.
Yeah, totally rational fear
With the big ass nose.
with a big ass nose. And I was like, oh, that would be really scary to see.
Bro, when Pokemon first dropped, I mean like the first month anyone heard about it, I was in 4th grade and my friend's like, dude, Pokemon are real. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they're like in big cities like New York. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, that's crazy. Full on believed him for like a week. And then I was like, wait, I don't know if I was the smartest child. Anyway,
Nice.
I have one more story.
All right, let's go.
Maybe 2. So this story comes to us out of Australia, and this person is in high school.
Mm-hmm.
They're super stressed out because they are taking the Australian equivalent of the American SATs soon. So they're super stressed. They've been studying. They've been cramming, staying up late nights. And in order to help them sleep, they kind of have gotten in the routine of taking sleeping pills, even though these sleeping pills are causing them to have really bad nightmares. So several nights into this routine, they're trying to go to bed. They take their sleeping pill and they're laying in their bed. And as everything gets quiet in the world, they're about to fall asleep. They hear a noise. And at first they're trying to ignore it, but eventually their brain just catches onto it. And you know how like when you're trying to sleep and you hear that noise, it like bores into your brain. Mm-hmm. Usually it's like, I don't know, an appliance on or a hum of something, but this noise was someone breathing, and it was coming from in the room.
No.
So they sit up in their bed and they listen and they look around and they realize it's most likely coming from under their bed. So they lean over, grab the side of their bed, and they lower their head to look under the bed. And as their eyes pass the threshold and look into the dark void under their bed, they see a face staring back at them. a very large bearded man in dirty clothing is just lying there looking at her. So she jumps up, runs down the hall to her parents' room, screaming, crying, tells her dad, she's on the sleeping pill, so she's super disoriented, tells her dad what's going on. They finally get the story out of her, and he tells her to calm down and basically convinces her it's the pills. Like, you've been having nightmares, it's the pills. And at this point, even she's not convinced. She's like, you're probably right. You're probably right. Because she's had really bad nightmares. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, go to bed. You got to get some sleep. You have this test. Go to bed. She's like, okay. And so she's finally convinced he's right. It's the pills. Gets back to her room. She's still afraid. So she tells herself and makes herself not look under the bed. Gets into her bed and goes back to sleep. Next morning, their whole first floor of their house is ransacked. And there's like TVs missing. Everything's missing. And they have no idea. They never caught the guy.
I bet her parents feel stupid.
Also, I wonder why that dude was in her room.
Breathing.
Under her bed. And like, he had to have still been there when she came back. So, if he was planning to do something to her, why didn't he?
I don't know, man.
He was probably just trying to like steal stuff on the first floor, I would say.
Yeah, if he was just trying to do that, then why would he go upstairs and lay under her bed?
Here's the thing that I know about, once again, bro science, but this is what I've learned about the escalation of crimes. But usually with a person, it starts small and then there's an escalation. Mm-hmm. So I could see maybe he's done some B&Es, some breaking and entering, and like that rush kind of dulled. So he's like, okay, I'm going to up the ante. It could be something like that. He could have gotten off on being creepy and like pushing that limit.
Oh, there was, and this is graphic.
So
forewarning.
Warning. Skip ahead if trigger warning.
But this came from a girl who, when she was younger, was walking home from school with her little sister. And as they're walking home, a man in a truck pulls up next to them. And he says, hey, can I get some directions? And she is close enough to the truck where she can see inside. Her little sister isn't tall enough to really see. But she can see that this man, all by himself in his truck, has one hand on the wheel and his other hand, he's masturbating.
Oh,
and she doesn't want to run because this man's in a car and she's still kind of far from home. But houses are lining the street and there's a house right next to where they're at with a woman in the driveway. And it looks like she's just getting home. And this little girl says to the man, sure, I don't know the area as well as I should, but let me ask my mom. And she turns around and she says, Mom, this man needs directions. And immediately this lady who they don't know comes to the truck, walks to the truck. And as she's walking there, she's like, sure thing, honey.
Ooh,
that's clutch.
A real one.
As she's walking there, she says, your father will be out too in a second.
Oh, double down.
Yeah. And as she's walking towards them, the sisters and the truck, the man says, oh, never mind, I'm okay, and then speeds off.
Dude, there's some real ones just coming in clutch right there.
Yeah, as much as we talk about like the sick people that exist, it's good to know that there are people like that. And this lady was talking to the girl and drove them home. And she asked, like, how did you know? And the lady said, I just knew.
Yeah.
Like, you called out to me and you called me mom, and that's what I was going to be.
Dang. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look out for those situations. Maybe you could be that for someone.
Mm-hmm. Did you have anything else?
No, I don't know. For some reason, stories while I'm sleeping are the ones that wreck me the most. So Just keep those in mind tonight when you're trying to sleep. Maybe check under your bed.
Dude, I don't
From a
have an
distance.
under, dude.
Check in your bathroom.
True, you don't want to get your ankles slashed or Achilles.
Or even your face.
That's true, yeah. That was actually one of the biggest problems I had with that story is the just looking under the bed like that.
Just so bold, like, okay.
Bro, I would jump off the bed like a good 6 feet and then look.
Yeah.
Jump on your bed till it collapses.
I do one of those with like the broomstick and just jab under the bed, you know, when you try to grab something or push something from under your bed. That's what I do. Okay. A few episodes ago, I shared a story about a friend of mine in Brazil.
Oh, the Black Stone.
The Black Stone. After I shared that story, one of our listeners reached out, and her name is Nicole. And she shared a story that was eerily similar about one of her friends who lived in Mexico City for a while. And while he was there, he too was serving a Mormon mission, and they're out there for 2 years. For some reason, while they were walking through the neighborhoods, instead of going the long way to this one place they were trying to get, they decided to hop the fence, and it was a pretty tall fence. And something went wrong. His leg or his pants clipped the fence, and he fell funky and broke his leg. And he was really worried. He didn't want to go home to recover. He was enjoying his time out there so much, he just wanted to stay out there. So instead of telling anybody or going to the hospital, he knew of some type of witch doctor in the area who performed black magic. And he went to them. And this witch doctor agreed to help them and, quote, cast a spell on him. After this happens, his leg miraculously feels fine. And he carries on as if the pain or anything didn't happen to him. So the next time they meet as missionaries, the mission president is there. And I mentioned this before, but just to reiterate, the mission president is like the main leader of the area where all the missionaries are in. And he kind of oversees the missionaries, make sure they're taken care of, trains them how to teach, and kind of orchestrates the whole thing. The mission president is there, and with all the missionaries in the room, he notices something is off, and he says, "Something doesn't feel right. If anybody's struggling with anything or had something to tell me, let me know, and I'm happy to help." So this missionary who broke his leg and got help from the witch doctor feels bad and gives in and decides to tell, his mission president. So his mission president gives him a blessing, and it's basically just, almost like a prayer to try to heal or comfort people who are sick and hurt. And he closes this blessing with amen. And they watch as this black smoke comes out of this missionary's leg. And there's a loud pop. And he is screaming in pain as his leg right before his eyes is broken. They take him to the hospital, fix him up, put him in a cast, and he recovers the normal way.
That's nuts, dude.
I never know what to think of those.
We weren't there, so we can't.
But also giving these people the benefit of the doubt. Let's say the witch doctor was evil, and say these, missionaries are good and supposedly using, God's power or some heavenly power to heal this, or would you call it healing? I don't know.
It almost seems like a masking, because in the two stories you've told, and this may just be the way I'm hearing it, it seems like it masks it, and whatever's wrong is continuing to be wrong, and it is more painful at the point where it stops. Like, it was masked to a point where they couldn't feel anything. And then when that masking is taken away, whatever it was wrong with them has continued to get worse.
Or probably has side effects that
Right, yeah.
they haven't seen yet. So the mission president want to avoid that altogether or something. I don't know.
That's crazy. If that happened, terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this story comes from somebody who works in law enforcement, and they were stationed in this small town, and they received a call one evening from the hospital security, and he responds, just him, radios in and says, I got this, but I'll let you know if I need anything else. I'll keep you guys posted. He arrives at the hospital, and there's just one security guard working that night. It's not a huge hospital, but there were reports of, quote, blood-curdling screams coming from one wing of the hospital that was out of commission.
Is this in the U.S.?
Yes, this is in the U.S.
Okay, sorry.
So there's no patients in this wing of the hospital. Nobody working there. It was all locked up. And they look up at this wing of the hospital, and they can see that on one floor the lights are on. The security guard decides to call, police.
He's like,
I'm not trying to take this on by myself. So he waits, and the person who's telling this story is the policeman, comes into the picture. So they go together, and they enter into the wing of the hospital that there are people, and it's normal night, not super crazy traffic, and it's later at night too. So everybody's kind of, patients are sleeping or nurses are just doing regular things. And they walk through all of that, and they turn and they start walking down the hallway. They get to the wing where all of this is happening, and they get to the floor where the lights are on. As they're approaching this section, there's a big glass door, and that's how you get into it. And the cop walks up to the door, grabs the door handle, and it's locked. So he turns to the security guard. He's like, do you have the keys for this? And the security guard says, yes, I do. Hands him the keys. There's a deadbolt, and he inserts the key, turns it, here's the click, and before he can pull on the door, there's a force that pushes his hand back and locks the door on him. And this immediately sends chills up both of their spines. At that point, he radios in and says, we might need one more person. Just send. I'll keep investigating, but send somebody else just in case,
Yeah, I'm going to need some backup.
Yeah. He turns it again, and he opens with ease, not met with any resistance like he was prior. He goes in with the security guard. They search the entire floor of that wing. They don't hear the screams anymore, and they don't find anybody. But they turn off the lights, and then they lock up. When they lock up, the hospital security guard gets a phone call from another wing of the hospital. And this is the children's wing of the hospital. And they say, the security guard is on the phone, and he says, yeah, we'll be there in a few minutes. So he hangs up and he tells the police officer, if you don't mind staying for a little longer, they're hearing noises coming from outside of the children's wing. They weren't really specific, but they want us to go check it out and make sure everything's safe.
As if these sick kids don't have enough to deal with.
Yeah.
Now they're getting haunted.
So they're walking to the children's wing of the hospital, and by the time they get there, another policeman is there. So they have three people. The two policemen, one of them who is telling the story, and then the security guard. The nurses working there are saying, yeah, these noises are coming from outside, and it's scaring all the children. So they say, all right, we'll go and check it out. They walk outside, and there's a fenced area connected to the hospital with a playground. And it's there for the children to play in, obviously, during the day. They get there, and as they turn the corner, they hear squeaking. And they watch as a set of swings are standing in the middle of the playground. 3 of them are still, and one of them is swinging.
Oh my gosh.
And they stand there for 30 seconds and watched as that one swing did not lose any momentum. They didn't they didn't pursue that or move closer. They turned around and went to the nurses. We didn't find anything.
Nope, all good. It's all good here.
Keep us posted. And the police officers left and told the security guard, let us know if anything else happens that we can help with.
Good luck, little homie.
Essentially left him in the dirt.
Bro, it would have been Will Smith from I Am Legend. No! What are you doing?
What's his name? The mannequin?
Yeah.
Frank. What the hell are you doing here, Frank?
What are you moving for?
Oh,
gosh.
That's when I was reading this submission, it just reminded me of like a classic ghost story, haunting story, you know? I don't know if I personally believe it, but it reminded me of the story that I told long ago, like one of our first episodes with my homie who works security at the mall by my house. And late at night, if you haven't heard this story before, there's a mall by my house in Hawaii called Windward Mall. And one of my friends worked there as security. And he worked with like 2 other dudes who were there every night. And hours after they close, it's just the 3 of them in the building. Everything's locked up. They saw a man. They saw him multiple times. And finally one night they chased him. And the Macy's was closed with these big glass sliding doors. They chase this man throughout the mall. And he's running towards the Macy's, and they watch as he runs through and apparates through the glass doors without disturbing the glass or breaking or shattering it. They run up, and the glass doors are there, and the man is clear. We're still running on the other side. But that's just what it reminded me of. And
you know what I'm going to try and do now, though? Get some fishing line, tie it to a swing, go a little bit far away, and just like throw some pebbles at like a window next to it, and then just start doing that.
That's still terrifying, though.
Yeah, it is
Even
terrifying.
to realize that there's just a man trying to... Anyway.
Either way, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I have to share a real quick one.
go ahead, dude.
And this happened to me when I was like 7. I was probably 18 at this point. So my friend Hunter, we were driving... I don't know why, but we were way out in the country. And where I live in Central California is like these towns, and surrounding them are just thousands of acres of orchards, could be like orange trees or corn, walnuts, things like that. So we're way out in the orchards. And he has this Jeep that had a really fun way of just breaking down. And it's like legit, it's like 2 or 3 in the morning. We're way far out of town. And I remember he's taking a right turn on this country road, and his shifter just comes out. And the Jeep breaks down. And so he like, oh crap, coasts off to the side of the road, and we're sitting there. And there's meth heads and things like that out and about, and orchards are not the safest place you want to be. So we're spooked. I know that like 2 miles down the road is a gas station. Other than that, nothing. So we sit there, and the best idea we come up with is, let's push our car to this gas station. You could park it there. We'll have a friend pick us up, and your dad can come help you in the morning. Okay. So me and him get out, and we start pushing this heavy A Jeep.
2 miles?
2 miles. It took us like an hour and a half.
That is a workout.
Bro, it took us forever. I'm not joking.
Dude.
So picture yourself, you're on this super long country road with orchards on each side.
Mm-hmm.
Pitch black. There's no streetlights out there. You have a tiny sliver of a moon lighting your way. So we're pushing until like halfway down the road, we come and there is a small farmhouse to our right. Not one light is on in this farmhouse. There's like one tree in the front yard and a small swing set in the backyard. You already know what's coming.
Why is the swing the ghost's favorite playground toy?
There was zero.
Like a teeter-totter.
Like, what about like? Yeah. I don't know, dude.
Sorry.
No worries. That makes I don't know why. There was zero wind, and as we get closer and closer with the Jeep, we look over, and the one swing is just steady swinging, and both Hunter and I saw it, and we're like, this isn't real right now. We can't run away and we can't just leave his car in the middle of the road.
Run where? Into the pitch black?
So we just push as hard as we can, like crying, like, oh my gosh, run. But we're just barely going fast. I don't know. It was just terrifying. We finally make it to the gas station. Our friend Gama picked us up.
Nice.
But it's just when you said that, that just brought me right back to that night. But yeah, you're right. Why do ghosts choose swings?
That's true.
It's just the spookiest toy to play with.
Go on the slide or something. Like,
It's like, what are you supposed to see though? Like a butt streak go down the slide? It's the most visually like stimulating thing they can.
yeah.
Right.
Anyway. All right, man. For me, shout out Sub-Zero Fun and Gaz Mike.
For me, shout out the entire state of Arkansas and all of its wonderful, creepy things.
Nice.
Shout out Nicole.
Hey, shout out Nicole. Shout out Aiden for all the help you're doing. Thanks, little buddy. Thanks, little man. Bye, love you. Be safe.
Trust your gut. Watch your back.
Be careful out there.
Bye.
See ya.
Wow.